Hello, everyone. As we speak, I just completed Resistance 3. Resistance 3, as you all know, is Sony's next installment to the PlayStation exclusive family. It's Insomniac's last game for the trilogy, well, hopefully the last, to the Resistance trilogy. The Resistance series was a launch title for the PS3 that came out in 2006. And I played it. I played the first Resistance. It was pretty action-packed, pretty cool, and it was like the game to have when the PS3 launched. And then I played Resistance 2, and Resistance 2 it basically gave groundbreaking new graphic technology, which is awesome, and it looked great, and from what I could play, it was pretty great. I never beat Resistance Fallen Man or Resistance 2. But I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to play Resistance 3 and I'm going to beat it. Boy, was that a mistake. Resistance 3 is the most disappointing first-person shooter I have played this year. I'm just going to say that right up front. It is one of the most repetitive, uninteresting, and just scratching games that I've ever played. The game has huge repetitivity problems. The game has shooting, with shooting, some more shooting, followed by some more shooting. And there's shooting, and there's a side of shooting, alright? And just to top it off, it has more shooting. And it fails to back it up with anything interesting. The story doesn't help whatsoever. What's going on is that the Chimera have taken over basically the whole world. They're starting to freeze, and there's only a few last people alive that are trying to fight and just survive. Well, they already figured, hey, we're dying. Why don't we just live our lives and forget, that they're trying to, kill us, and let's just, basically just live our lives until the day we die. Well, basically what happens is that there's this Russian guy named Malikov, this old man, who convinces Joe to go ahead and embark on this journey. You play as, Joe, and he's basically the guy who killed Nathan Hale in the second game. Oh, and I'm sorry, did I ruin the second game for you? Oh, too bad, you should have played it. Nathan Hale, is dead, and your character, Joe Capelli, he's the guy who shot him, and you play as him in this game. And Joe's a more emotional character now. He fights for a purpose, his family and stuff like that, and yeah. So basically Joe's at first he's like, no, I don't want to go, this is stupid, I'm not going to do this, I don't want to, separate from my family. Then his wife tells him, go, because I want to make sure that my son, if my son has possibility to live, I want to make sure that, he can live a life. And so Joe's like, okay, hon, I'll go. And he goes and embarks on this journey, which is him and this old guy. And they are basically going to go into New York to shut down the terraformer and basically try to save their race against all odds. Well, the game's controls have been revamped. Okay, just to say, it handles a lot more like Call of Duty now, lightweight, very arcadey, and just nothing new whatsoever. The controls in Resistance 2 and Resistance Fallen Man were much more different. I remember that the right stick was used to aim your gun. Now it's L1, and basically the majority of the whole time you're playing the game, you're going to be aiming down the sights. It reminded me of Call of Duty too much. And I think that really helped diminish the game's fun, and diminish the game's enjoyment and value, because there really isn't anything new you're going to find in here. There isn't. I mean, it's kind of too bad, to be honest, because it has a pretty assuring title, Resistance 3. And, it has PlayStation Move support. I'm not playing with PlayStation Move. I'll go play a Wii if I want motion controls. But the game is just repetitive. It's really repetitive. I mean, through halfway of the game, you're just like, man, this game drags on too much. It needs to end. It just needs to end. And I really had to force myself to play, because the game was so uninteresting, had so much repetitivity, that I honestly couldn't play this for more than an hour. The game's just outright boring. It's completely boring, doesn't have an interesting storyline whatsoever. And it was very hard for me to get into the game because of that. And the main problem is, of course, repetitivity. Every game suffers from repetitivity, but it's the storyline that makes the repetitivity either more noticeable or not. And this game's storyline, it was pretty, it was a standard storyline, but it was just, the game's repetitivity just showed so much that you honestly didn't care about the story. I was fighting, and I'm like, I'm fighting all of these people, and I don't even know why I'm fighting. I forgot what I'm doing here in the first place. The game has a lot of problems with placing you in this one-man army situation where you're here alone, no teammates, right? And they flood you in, they put you in claustrophobic small areas where you can barely move around and find cover. And then they put all the enemies they can possibly render on screen at you, and you're left with just shooting, oh, reload, shooting, grenade, shooting. And you're just, the whole time, you're just standing there, and you can't believe what's happening because the game is incredibly hard. I'm playing this on a normal difficulty. It is hard. I died. I was jamming like the whole first halfway, but towards the the other half, I was just dying constantly. Mainly, it was because so many enemies flooded at me at once. They're all on screen. The game's frame rate also kind of blows. It runs at 30 frames per second constantly or consistently, but once all the enemies come at you at once and they're all kind of packed in there and there's big explosions, the frame rate drops. And then it becomes even harder because now you're feeling like you're watching a slideshow instead of playing a video game. I mean, and they had the nerve. They had the nerve. Once you beat this game, a message pops up. You unlock the superhuman, difficulty. Why? If I would honestly, like cut all my limbs off and like set myself on fire before I even tried this on superhuman difficulty. That's how bad it is. This is how difficult the game is. I really didn't enjoy it. I really didn't. I felt like it was a forced shooter. I really felt disappointed because the graphics in this game are great. The graphics in this game are great. The voice acting is pretty good as well. But it's just so repetitive. I mean, there is no value in here whatsoever. Now, I'm only talking about the campaign. I'm not going to review the multiplayer. I don't think multiplayer should factor into review specifically because it's not the game companies that make the multiplayer great, it's the players. There is no point in having multiplayer if there's no one to play with. So let's go into the core of the game, the campaign, to see what the developers really did. That's what I believe, alright? I don't think multiplayer is just a player's experience with other players. Simple as that. But yeah, the game is just repetitive. I highly encourage you to resist playing it at all costs. Don't even consider buying it. Don't even consider renting it. It's literally that bad. If you want frustration, exhaustion, temptation to break something, go ahead and play this game. Because it'll give you that temptation within, what, like 2.5 hours, something like that. It's too bad, really. It really is too bad, because I really liked the game, but I mean, I really thought this game was going to be good, but it just really ended up being a more of a disappointment, unfortunately. So, yeah, I mean, at least I got trophies out of it. Please don't get the game. Please don't even think about even like renting it or playing it, because it really is. It feels like a forced shooter. I mean, I honestly felt like I was forcing myself to play. I'm sending this game back to GameFly tomorrow. I'm sending it back. Just gonna give it back to them and say never sell this to anyone. Oh my god. It's just it just baffled me. It completely baffled me. I don't even know what to say anymore. This game destroys the first-person shooter genre. It literally destroys it. There's no reason to play a first-person shooter after this. You're like, wow. Just wow. You know, and like I'm playing this game, right? I'm like, I feel like I played this before. Because it just handles kind of similar to Call of Duty. The lightweight feel, the same control scheme, stuff like that. So, alright. That's it. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. You heard right, a 6 out of 10. I was going to originally give it a 7, but towards the end where it just got so hard and they just throw everything at you at once and you're only by yourself, you don't even have any good decent weapons or ammo, and there's health that you're just struggling to find health everywhere, and there's the ending was just kind of like that. I got to the ending, I'm like, okay, pretty epic ending, right? Well, first of all, they rip off the Dead Space 2 ending. They rip off the Dead Space 2 ending right off the bat. And then it's just, oh, Joe reunites with his family, the end. Don't play the game. Please, don't play the game. Just don't. It's a 6 out of 10 in my opinion. I'm gonna stay at that. I hope that's the last Resistance game. I really do. We'll just go on from there, right? So, yeah, 6 out of 10.